Okay. Hello. Are we live back here? Can we be heard? I think. I believe I'm live. So that should be about. Hello. Welcome to UKSM Live. My name is BOWIEtheHERO. I'm going to be playing today Illusion of Gaia, any %. It's a action RPG on the Super Nintendo. It's a fantastic game, came out in like 93 or something, 94, it was early. Published by Enix, yay! I'll try and get all of the narrative stuff out of the way, like, now. Or like, not now, but like, beforehand to get through it, because there's a lot of story going on. So, just as like a basic, we take the role of Will. He's a young man who's like an evolved human and has like psychic powers. That's all you need to know for the early part, but Will make sure to kind of keep you up to date as we go. Everyone here having a good day? Are we all right today? We good? Fantastic. If you're into retro action RPGs, this is the run for you. Of course, first of all, thanks to the guys for having me. So I will get the run going in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so welcome to Illusion of Gaia. This is any %, so that means I'm going to be running the game as fast as possible and getting none of the, what's the word I'm looking for, optional items, the red jewels. There are 50 red jewels in this game, and if you find them, you get a secret dungeon. We're not going to be doing that. This is generally a harder run than the 100% run, because you also get upgrades and bonuses to your stats in this game that you find by getting the herbs and stuff. So this is about a 2-hour run, roughly. I hope to be under that. I've only done one run on a marathon under 2 hours, but it's pretty fine regardless. So the start, we leave school, we go and hang out with our mates at the cave, and then Eric, our friend, rushes in and says that the princess has gone missing from the nearby castle. Some notes about the run, so you know how difficult this is, because this is a difficult run. In order for me to run in this game, I need to double tap the D-pad. There is no run button in this game. So double tapping is going to be the name of the game. Also to note that all of the text, well, majority of the text is like that. You can mash the text fast enough to essentially move the text forward frame by frame. It's very hard to do fast. And obviously keeping it up over the course of a 2-hour run is very, very difficult. I mean, it's one of those runs where you kind of wish you had a little bit of hand cam, but it's hard to kind of see the intricacy and the nuance of the inputs just because of how fast they're done. So this is Kara. She's the princess who ran away, and she's got her trusty pet pig here. His name is Hamlet. Don't worry, nothing bad's going to happen to him. Nothing bad ever happens to cute things in video games, don't worry. Especially not in RPGs. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so as I said, double tap to run is the name of the game, and inputs are going to be very, very hard. So as I said, it's an action RPG. Now that's very, very important when we get to the actual combat in the game. The first section is kind of just a bit of text, a bit of cutscene. And we'll be getting to the action in about 5.5 minutes into the run. But the thing is regardless of the fact that this is kind of like cutscene-y at the start and has a few cutscenes here and there, is not actually overly cutscene heavy. This is a very input-intensive run. I've always liked to compare it in terms of input intensity to something like Mega Man X. Now I know Mega Man X runners would say that's not the case, and honestly it's not a one-to-one, but just the intensity and the complete need to focus for as long as you do in an action run of this length is kind of tricky. But yeah. So yeah, after that we get a letter that takes us. The letter says that they want us to come to the castle. Edward, the king of the area, said, "Come to the castle, bring the crystal ring. I know you have it." And we're like, "Okay, we've been summoned to the castle. Don't know about that crystal ring you're talking about, but we'll go for it anyway." So I use a varied bunch of methods of mashing in this game. So if you notice at the start of the game, I selected input type 2. Input type 2 means that B is the attack button and Y is the use item button. By default, it's A and B, respectively, but this makes B and Y our attack and item. But specifically, it means that A is still usable, so I can still mash through text with A, but it doesn't do anything else. So I don't have to worry about mashing too much, because obviously, as you saw, you can mash through text very, very quickly. That was a very tight input, so I spoke to him, cleared one text box, pushed down, and then confirmed to say that I don't have the crystal ring. He then throws me in prison. If I said yes, he would check me, and it would take a few seconds longer to get through the end of that cutscene. Yeah. So I'll now introduce one of the techniques in this game. This is called iframe guarding, or dash guarding. So what happens is when you let go of your dash, there's like 9-frame window or so, where you have you can basically put another input in before you stop your dash. What I'm then doing is I'm letting go of the dash button, and then pressing the guard button and re-pressing the dash button, or the direction that I'm facing, in a very, very quick, basically very, very tight inputs, in order to keep the dash speed and also bring up guard. This allows me to kind of block enemy projectiles that will be thrown out over the course of the run. It's not like a majorly useful skill, but it is helpful for sure. Okay, so we get thrown in prison. And we're going to get saved by a very trusty pig. We may have seen him a bit earlier in the run. His name's Hamlet. Oink, oink. Hell yeah, dude. There he is. You have the key. So there's a bit of fanfare and a bit of stuff whenever we get a key item. That's like the slowest text in the game, is key item text. You'll see that a few times. So yeah, it's very important for me to be able to kind of like get these quick turns. Oh, okay. He can stay up if he wants to. I am going to make it. Okay, cool. Okay, so what I'm utilizing here is I'm attacking enemies and using their iframes to be able to get around them in certain scenarios. I'm dropping a few inputs here. I haven't practiced this game today. I came up to the event this morning, so I'm a little, not rusty, but need to just get warmed up. Cool. That's a bit of RNG there. The spear can drop either really quickly or not at all, or really late, basically. But I got away with it, so we're good. Whew. So there's a technique I am using, which is very, very quick, and you don't see it too often, but it's called orb cancelling. There are certain enemies that I defeat, that when I defeat them, they release a white orb. The white orb kind of hovers for a second and then goes and destroys a blockade that then removes the blockade so you can keep moving through. Obviously, I want to get through as fast as possible. If I open the menu and then close it during the during the animation of it like popping up, it instantly clears the barrier, so I can run past without having to watch the animation, which is obviously very, very helpful. I'm not going to do one here because it can cause a little glitch. There's like one or two like soft locks in this game that I don't want to do. They're very easy to avoid. They're not going to happen. There's no way they would happen in a run. If they've happened to you once, they're not going to happen again. So here's like the cool thing about this game. Every time you can go into these dark spaces, the character in the middle is Mother Gaia or Light Gaia, and she's like your guardian voice. And we're introduced to this character here. He's the Dark Knight Freedom. Because Will has these psychic powers, he has the ability to transform into a special Dark Knight. And the range of the sword is longer than the flute. So we use that just to get past. That bit by being able to reach the button across the side there. Ah. So I need to make sure that I time this right just to get the first available frame. of vulnerability. So there you go, I'm running through. There's the orb I was talking about. Okay. So that's our first dungeon done, not so bad, and our introduction to Friedan. He's used a little bit. Honestly, we don't use him as much as we do in a casual playthrough, but So what I did there was I buffered a jump attack through the trigger of activating that cutscene, which is the line, it's like the pixel in line with the wall on the right-hand side. So we can jump past it, and that basically gets us out of the dungeon quicker. We do a few things like that in this game, where we're able to kind of like get a few tiles further past story triggers and that kind of stuff. It's very, very helpful for like minimizing well, the time it takes to complete this run. Now my estimate, I believe, is a 205, which is a very safe estimate for a runner of I mean, this is going to sound really bad, but a runner of my level is kind of like, that's pretty good. I very rarely go above it. Sub 2 is kind of like the big run. That's the big time that everyone wants to get to. Anyone from my lot who are watching this have probably started a game in chat where we try and spell out that text box without doubling up. Good luck if you're playing. Split. I always want to be out of there sub 10. If it's not sub 10, it's whatever. But like, if I'm doing an actual PB attempt, I don't want to take anything above 10 minutes there. But it's kind of whatever, really. Okay, so we return to South Cape. We've taken Kara with us, obviously, because she wanted to escape. We came back at night, and we go back to our house, and we find out that it's been trashed. That's not good. There's a little pamphlet on the wall here. This is of a chap called the Jackal. The Jackal? It's the Jackal. He's a really important character, and we'll be hearing a lot about him over the course of the run. By which I mean he hardly shows up. But basically, the Jackal came here and said that I'm here for you. I'm chasing you. Don't get comfortable, kind of thing. Lily, the girl we met at the end of the dungeon there, who actually helped us get through the dungeon, tells us that she took Grandpa Bill and Grandma Lola to her town for safety. So we're going to Italy Village for a bit of safety, where I'm going to play Lola's melody. Now, the cool thing about this game is Will, obviously, the main character Will, he attacks with a flute. You will learn over the course of the run a variety of songs. Now, some of them we don't get, some of them are single use, but Lola's melody is the most important one. If you're stuck on what to do, generally trying to play this song will help you out, because it's a helpful song. It just so happens to be the song that is holding the spell over Italy Village, and then we can now get inside and find out where our grandpa and grandma is, which are, there they are, yay. So again, mashing as best I can and making sure that my double taps are on point and my turns are nice and clean, and going inside dark spaces. So we're going to be accessing our first special ability for our characters. I actually have access to it now, so I'm just going to unleash it to push myself a few pixels down. It gets me out of the dark space a little bit quicker. This is Psycho Dash. So by holding down the attack button, I can charge up, and then when I'm flashing really fast, I can unleash an attack that breaks down walls and deals big damage to enemies. And we're going to get our first usage of that now. And now, if I attack walls, sometimes it'll have a noise, kind of similar to like in The Legend of Zelda, when you like stab a wall or attack a wall, and it makes a noise to know that you can bomb it. It's kind of similar to this. You attack walls, you know that you can break them down, but I know where they all are, so. Whew. So in that first dungeon, I wasn't attacking any of the enemies. It's an action RPG, I need to go fast. The way that you level in this game, because it is an RPG, and you may wonder, how is it an RPG? Whenever you defeat all the enemies in a screen, you get one stat up, either HP, attack, or defense. Now I'm avoiding these enemies, which means that after a time, I will basically be one shot. So it's basically pretty scary. Okay. Time to go to the Moon Tribe camp. with Lily in tow, of course. So we're looking for two Incan masks. The two Incan masks are basically going to be puzzle or pieces of a puzzle to help us figure out the big puzzle in the Incan ruins. But this is where I'm going to be using the Psycho Dash offensively. Not bad. So there is a little bit of kind of like randomness to how they work. Like the slugs will move in specific positions, up or down. Like you can normally hit the first two. If you're lucky, you can hit the third one that's like next to them really quickly as well with like the knockback of another enemy. So there are times when I will be using multiple enemies to chain knockback damage into others to either clear pathways or defeat enemies quickly. But there, I just need to defeat the 6. A funny story with this game is that normally when Japanese games come over to the West, they're made easier. However, that is a much harder thing to do in English. In Japanese, you're given 60 seconds, and in the Western version, we're given 20. So it's very hard. Runners fail that. I mean, every runner who runs this game has at one point failed that mission. Just because it's like been a bad execution, or the enemies have been mucking around, that kind of stuff. Okay. So I'm going to charge a Psycho Dash here. I can basically get 2 hits on that enemy. When I'm defeating enemies, I never defeat an enemy for no reason. It's not one of those ones where it's like, oh, it just makes it easier. No, every enemy I defeat is mandatory to be defeated to kind of make this as easy as or as doable as it is. So the enemy I defeated just there releases stairs to get a shortcut back out off of this kind of this second screen here. And then this other one here. So by defeating the one on the left, you can see they're firing out spines. The one on the left would hit me, and it can actually sometimes kill you if you take enough damage, or if you haven't got enough HP. So it's important. And that's where we use the iframe guard. Very nice. Okay. Okay, so now normally we'd use Freedan to use his extra length, but I'm doing dash attacks, which actually go through this barrier slightly, just enough to give me the hit on it. So we don't actually need Freedan for this dungeon. Now what I did there, so there are no major skips or major glitches in this game. It's kind of quite compact, quite robust. But what I did there in particular was a very specific mechanics abuse, and it only works going horizontally onto slopes. So I did a jump attack on the bottom tile of the horizontal slide, and what that meant was that it kind of gave me, I was held in place for just a moment, and that gives me the speed as if I came down the slide from the very, very top, basically meaning that I could skip a massive puzzle kind of running around the back and stuff. Okay. This screen is really tough, on the hands. I've been running this game for 6 years, and it wears you down sometimes. So you are meant to go and go to another area of the dungeon and get another song for Will to play. And when you play the song, this tile that I'm standing on glows. And if you stand on it for long enough, the door appears. However, you don't need the song to highlight. You don't need the song to activate the tile. You just need to stand on it. So, okay, I'm going to have a little bit of focus time for myself here for this first boss. So coming up is the first boss. His name is Kastoth. He can be one-cycled. I will explain the one cycle afterwards, but I'll try and get it done. It's very hard. I'm also dead in one hit, so focus. No, okay, that's fine. Okay, so we got the boss done. He was down 2 cycles, whatever. There is a bit of RNG involved. I don't like to sit here and talk about an RNG and blame RNG for anything, because this is a very execution-heavy run. It may be an there is RNG, and RNG kills runs, but I don't really care for RNG. It's whatever. It's part of the game. Love it or hate it. I really enjoy RNG. So the reason, so the 1 cycle, how that works is, if the second crystal that Kastoth fires from his head is more vertical than horizontal, so both of the ones he fired were horizontal. If he fires a second one more vertically, you can stand in the position that is safe. I know the safe positions. There are 3, depending on the first crystal. But what needs to happen is the first attack needs to be double frame perfect. The very, very first frame that he is vulnerable needs to line up with the very, very first the first frame he's vulnerable needs to line up with the very, very final active frame of your attack rotation. If that is the case, then you have an 18 frame window to get the next 19 hit, by which I mean that 1 more attack needs to be frame perfect, and then the other 18 attacks need to be within 1 frame perfect. If you land that, it sounds complex. If you land that, you get the 1 cycle. I've done it about 8 times in runs, and I've done it a whole bunch of times in practice, but it's really hard to get because, as I say, there's an 18 frame window, as in of 20 attacks, 1 has to be double frame perfect, 1 has to be frame perfect, and then 18 can be within 1 frame. So basically, the more frame perfect inputs you get, the more leeway you have with the later attacks. It's hard, but it's doable. So I'm preemptively equipping that the large yummy roast leg of yak. I'll be having that for tea a bit later, dinner a bit later. Not tea, dinner. Okay, so after defeating Kastoth, we jump down the hole and we find ourselves on the ancient Incan gold ship, which is the legendary ship that we've been searching for. We hear a story about, the Incans, like basically they believe Will to be the king who they've been waiting for. The queen down there was like, you're the king. The mystic statue that we've been holding for you is downstairs. So we get the mystic statue, yay. And then we can kind of continue our journey. Okay, so this is just story triggers. So I hit the fish, and that means that now I have to wait 30 seconds. So 30 seconds for any donations if you want to read any out, if we have any. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the run so far. We've got a way to go, don't worry. It gets harder as well. So one thing I haven't talked about, and I should mention it, if you look on the top left of my screen, I've now got more dots on the top left. So I was mentioning earlier that when you defeat enemies, all the enemies on a screen, you get 1 stat up. So it would actually be impossible to do this game if that was the case. Well, it wouldn't be impossible, it would just be like joke hard. But it's actually possible, or it makes it easier to do this run, because when you defeat a boss, you get all the stat ups that you'd missed up until that boss. So and I'm holding onto a herb because I want to use it now. So I need to get back up to full HP to continue this part of the story. So I use a herb. Wow, nice. I use a herb to... that's really good. I use a herb to get back 8 HP and then get the final 4 to go back. So again, I'm relying on the fish to come in large amounts to get the HP back quickly. And they did, so that's nice. Okay, and now this screen is the only screen other than the post-game when we defeated the final boss, is the only other screen to not have the HUD at the top. And the reason for that is that you're meant to pay attention to the stars. There will be a There will be a test later on in the game, seeing if you paid attention to that. So again, I'm just kind of like trying to bide time, just make the 25 seconds go a bit quicker here. But I like to do jump attacks because it keeps me tapping the D-pad whilst also tapping A and B, so you can get a quick mash when the text boxes come up. Okay. Okay, so we've been washed. We were at sea, obviously stranded at sea because we were attacked by a giant fish called Leviathan. That's why we were stranded, by the way. I didn't tell you that earlier, but that was why it happened. After a while, we wash up at sea, or at a nearby shore, and it turns out that we had a vitamin C deficiency. That was why Will passed out on the bit of driftwood. But we were saved by that lovely gentleman at the Diamond Coast, and we're going to make our way to Frisia. This is a very dark video game, by the way. This is for kids, and it's kind of silly. So this is a village that is basically has a underground slave trade. So the gentlemen in the purple robes are part of the slave ring, and all these gentlemen in the green hats are slaves of basically their slaves. And we're basically going to try and save the slaves from the nearby mine. So this guy here, Sam, tells us about where his friends are in the diamond mines, and we're going to go to the diamond mines and rescue all of his friends. You can also, one of the things you need to do as well actually is in order to do the 100% run, you get a red jewel from the slavers by selling out where one of the escaped slaves are, which is a bit of a weird thing to do, but you then go and rescue him anyway from the diamond mines, so it's tough. It's tough. It is a dark game, it really is. But it's very, very cool that it does have these mature themes, and I think it's nice in an era where like a lot of games did have a few changes to the script to make sure that they kind of like would be suitable to have a game that had such mature themes. So this is the diamond mine. This is a great dungeon. It's also very hard. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to charge here. I'm going to be holding on to this charge until I get to this chap down here who I want to take out, and hold on to the D-pad so I can keep running. This is a safety herb. It's very important to have. Well, it's not a safety herb. I'd actually call that a mandatory herb. Well, not mandatory. There's a boss that I use it on. I've defeated that boss without needing to heal, but it's not ideal. So there are loads of like slaves in this mine that what we can do is we can attack the ball and chain that's attached to them, and that basically saves them, and they'll run away nice and happy, and off they go. Again, doing the jump attack to get the full speed. I'm going to basically be charging Psycho Dashes for specific enemies. Yeah. I was holding back on that attack just because I know that guy can sometimes... he can sometimes just like turn to stone early, and when he turns to stone he's invulnerable, so I want to make sure that I can get him, but depending on where he moves and how he moves, I may have to wait for the cycle. Also my execution. But so when a statue has a skill like this, you automatically transform to the character that you are getting the skill for. It may sound unnecessary, but it's actually going to be used to speed up transformations and certain runs. One of the bigger skips in this game happens in the second half, and yeah. So now's a good time to start talking about the central part of the HUD, which is DP. DP stands for Dark Power. And basically, Dark Power is like lives, basically. If I defeat enough enemies, they will drop, enemies drop those little crystals. If I get 100, I get a heart. If I basically die and lose all of my HP with a heart intact, I will revive on the screen I died, and all the enemies that I defeated prior to getting there will still be dead. However, if I have 0 hearts and I die, I go back to the beginning of the dungeon, or a specific check marker, with all the enemies back to life. That sounds annoying, however, I will be using Death Warping here in order to speed up dungeons like this, because where I need to go now is closer to the beginning than it was where I was. So I also use it to, because not every dungeon kind of like exits itself. Some dungeons you have to run out of. So Death Warping on the dungeons you need to leave allows you to go straight back to the beginning, and then you leave. So. Okay. Good that I didn't take any damage. I do need to set up for another Death Warp, but I need to be careful, because some of these enemies can play hardball, and hardball's annoying. Thanks, mate. That's fine. So yeah, by unleashing the Psycho Dash, I can hit the ball and chain, and then I mash the B button to talk to the slave as I'm kind of like going up, and then it also puts me back in the position where I was when I used the Psycho Dash. So nice and fast. I'm going to play it safe because it's a marathon run. I would normally take a bit more damage and speed up my my Death Warp, but nice. So I've got the key to the mine and the mine key. Hell yeah, dude. I don't need to equip them for this one. I can just check this. I'm going to try and do a little jump, a little cheeky jump here. It doesn't save too much time, but it's cool. Swag strat, if you will. Got it. There we go. So I attacked from far away to hit the ball and chain, initiated a jump attack, and then spoke to Sam, the slave there, on the frame that I'm like pixel to pixel next to him. It's really hard to get that one. And now I'm just going to take some hits and off we go. Okay, so again, this is something I haven't really talked about, but it's a minor thing. I'm holding down the start button because this mode 7 likes to like pan out on these areas and then go in, but you can see it moves like for a frame. But because I'm holding start, I skip the the zoom out, zoom in animation. So it speeds up transitions. Okay, so my characters have always been here. What happened is my other NPC friends, they made it past the shipwreck as well, but Lance, the guy at the back in the green, he lost his memory. He's suffering from amnesia. So I played the Song of Memories that I learned from Sam in order to restore his memories. What is this place? Somehow I feel a little homesick. I feel like I'm back in the womb. All the things that happened. Oh no. Everything that's happened and the people I've met are pouring into my head. I was raised in the town of South Cape. When my father didn't come back from an expedition, the most important thing in my life was gone. I didn't know what to do. I can't stand my father using soldiers to invade other countries. It's awful when someone loses their life. What had taken years to put together was destroyed in one moment. I wonder if Seth is alright. People live on because they forget about unpleasant things. I mean, I've played it once or twice. The script is the script, right? If it helps, I haven't memorized the really fast screen, like the fast transitions. Like, any of that? No idea what that says. Basically, we're going to go, now that Lance is fine, Will's cousin Neil is nearby. He's an inventor, and he might be able to help us travel across the rest of the world to find more mystic statues. So we're going to go see Neil and have a look at all of his inventions. He's creating gas canisters, wings, a telescope, a camera. He's really cool. He's all kind of inventors rolled into one. Nice. So yeah, you want to like check each of the 4 inventions and then go speak to Neil, and then we continue. So my name is BOWIEtheHERO. That was obviously said early on, but my namesake is from Shining Force 2, and Shining Force 2 has a very interesting design, or a little pattern on it called the Nazca lines. Now these are a real place in our real world. The Nazca lines are amazing, and it's interesting how the Nazca lines show up in 2 of my favorite speedruns: Shining Force 2, which is my namesake, and this game. And I played both of these games obviously when I was a child, so it's kind of weird that it just showed up everywhere. So much so that I really want to go and see the Nazca lines at some point in my life. Whether I do or not is a different story, but please. That should be it, actually. Yeah. Nailed it! Okay, that is a pixel-perfect piece of movement. If I'm 1 pixel to the left or right, I'll get stuck between the NPCs that I ran between. So that was kind of cool. Please get your PogChamps ready. I mean, or post them now. Left foot. Okay, so the answer to that riddle, there are 4 options. The answer to the riddle was the red star shining on that one screen that had no HUD when we were on the raft, if you remember. I want to wait for Neil to get into position, and then when he's in position, I check the tile, and then I get whisked up into the sky to the Sky Garden, which is kind of like a... it was inspired by the myth of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, so... And the music's amazing, by the way. All of the music in this game is fantastic. I should kind of like say that now, but classic Nintendo RPG, or like I don't know, 90s Golden Age RPGs. Golden Age. So, hello. So I'm going to be using death warping to get back between... so this dungeon is kind of built up into like 4 separate areas. At the end of each area there's a crystal ball. I will be using the crystal ball to... I'll be placing them on the main screen that I show up on, and basically it creates a bridge to the boss. Then I fight the boss and continue, so 4 areas, off we go. Okay. Again, remember that every single input or every single like run you see is a double tap. I am not holding down any like run button. Okay. Whew. Now the thing with this game is it's pretty tough, and getting none of the upgrades makes things really, really difficult. And we're also playing with fire because we don't get any dark power. So it's really hard to run this game like super, super fast. But it's really rewarding. I think it's one of my favorite speedruns that I've ever done. And I think it's like one of the better speedruns on the SNES just because it is so execution heavy and there is RNG. The main thing with it is that like we have a sizable little community. But the main thing with it is that most people are a bit put off by the double tap to run because it is tricky. But it's a very rewarding tactic or skill to nail down. Okay. Go to the right, please. Thank you. Now, I'm waiting for that one. So I said earlier there were some soft locks in the game. That's one. If you open that chest whilst there's the explosion frames going on, it soft locks the game. So I have done that in a run once, and that's why I will never do it again. Okay. Part 2 down. Part 3 is one of the more interesting areas. However, I'm going to skip it all. So you may have been noticing that in the past I've done that whole like jump attack up a slope to get the speed up, but I'm actually going to do it up a small slope just to kind of completely skip the slope as a whole. And again here, the idea is you're meant to use, because Sky Garden, as you notice, has the underside as well. You're meant to use the underside to hit switches to like raise and lower platforms so that you can get like a massive run from the right hand side all the way over to the left. But because I can do the jump attack up the slopes like that, we just skip out the entire puzzle. So we're going to do the, we are going to make use of the puzzle, however, by doing that, which allows us to get into this dark space. And we're going to have Freedan here, and we're going to use Freedan just the once. Once for the fourth area. Now I always gauge a good run based on whether or not I get out of this section. This is for a PB. For a marathon, it can be whatever. But for like a PB run, if I'm like running against my splits, looking for a sub 2, looking for a 158, I want to be on this screen sub 40. Whether or not I have it, I don't know. Whoops. But a sub 40 is nice. If you get it there, that's kind of where you want to be to know that you're like really smashing it. Obviously, getting a 1 cycle cast off really helps with that as well. So this is where the game kind of teaches you about like playing with the mechanics in the game. If I didn't hold left there, I'd just keep going across, and I'd be thrown over to the beginning of the area. So that's actually really nice that the game kind of like teaches you about certain like bits of certain intricacy in the mechanics of the game by doing that kind of stuff. Knock up, knock down, cool. So that's a statue skip. If I was to try and move around the statue, what you're meant to do is defeat the sword and then use the guard to pull the statue away. But I let the sword hit me down into the enemy. So when you... what's the word I'm looking for? When you take damage, it doesn't count as an input, so you get knocked onto the side, so you don't jump down the slope. If I was to press down, I jump onto the slope and just go down. He went to the left, I wanted him to go to the right, but... Okay, not a bad fight. It was not a 2-cycle. You can get a 2-cycle. There's a brand new strat that a gentleman named Mr. Freet came up with, a new runner on the scene, and he's given a lot to the speedrun. Found out a lot of stuff, so shout outs to Mr. Freet for being a beast and finding some straps. I wasn't going to do it there. I'm not practiced enough on the new straps to do it in a marathon. You can charge, by the way. You can charge yourself up while you're doing this. I don't know why, but... But yeah, that's Sky Garden. We've now got 2 of 6 Mystic statues. Hooray! So we're about 1/3 of the way through the game. Nice. Okay. So, we're going to be going to probably the most annoying dungeon. A lot of people like, if you played this game casually, I mean, I'm not sure if anyone here has played this game casually, but if you played this game casually, this is like a really difficult dungeon. Very, very tricky. A lot of dangerous areas where you can like take excess hits, and the boss of the dungeon being a specific bugbear for a lot of people. You've got to make sure you charge parachutes. Always charge parachutes. It's the rules. But yeah, I think it's one of those ones where it is dangerous and it is hard, but it's actually a brilliant dungeon for the speed run. It's absolutely fantastic. It is horrible, and I've cried many, many times when I've lost many great runs to this dungeon, and I will lose many great runs in the future to this dungeon, but I love it. It's really cool. There is a few enemies that like to warp around, that like to like appear in your face half the time, and that's very frustrating, especially when we're trying to like conserve. We are going to do one death warp, just one, and that one death warp is like we have to go a long time into the dungeon, so we have to get through a lot of obstacles, and there's going to be a lot of tricks to do before we get to that point. So I have like a very, very short window of time here where I can buffer an input right to kind of get a dash to the right. If I get a good input, I'll go really far. If I get an okay input, I won't go too far at all. That was the good one. Yay. At least I think it was. It might have been longer than it might have been shorter than I thought. Oh well. So I got the purification stone. Obviously, after Sky Garden crash, we landed in the sea. And I need to purify the water down here because it's poisoned. Also, shouts to my boys in the front row. How's it going, DX? How's it going, GP? Cheers for coming out, lads. Okay, so we purify the water, as you can see. It's no longer a brown-grey mess. Reminds me of gaming in 2010 to 2013. Ooh. That was an interesting period of time. Games are good again now, and I love it. Games are really good again. But there was like a good 4-year period when it was a question mark. Oh, hello. So now that I've purified the water, you can see life has come back to the Undersea Palace. Everyone's here and alive and healthy. What this means specifically for me is I can speak to this chap, who happens to be the warden of the Undersea Palace, and gives me the key to the Undersea Palace. Got to menu fast, boys and girls. If you're going to run this game, get used to fast menuing. It really does save a lot of time, rather than being like, hell yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to make a safety save in this dungeon, and towards the end of the dungeon. It's the only safety save I make in marathon runs, because everything else is pretty safe. But so I'm going to hold on to a charge here. I'm going to unleash this to deal some big damage. And we've got the quick kill on the golem there. Okay, so we're going to be introduced to a new enemy now. These are called the Flashers, and Flashers suck! They do that. Wow, cool game. There we go. Okay. So yeah, flashers like to just port all over the shop when you're near them, and they will actively just teleport onto your face, which is amazing. And I'm going to be using the bubble physics to, because obviously as you saw, they bounce me back really far. I'm going to be using them to kind of speed up certain screens. Now, you're probably wondering how I knew an item was there. The game kind of gets the idea that there will be statues that look at in perpendicular directions, and you have to kind of find out where they cross and meet, and check the area where they meet to find the item. So, the Statue of Hope, we're going to be using that, and you basically take it to a Room of Hope, and in the Room of Hope, place a statue, and it basically lowers the water level in Mu. So this is a good and bad thing, because it means that more flashers show up, because there are flashers on the higher and lower levels. But it also means that we'll be able to continue the dungeon, which is obviously the negatives of more flashers is far outweighed by the fact that we can complete the game. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? So, the wardens of Mu, who are also flashers, not mean ones though, they're helpful flashers who are very, very nice to us. They're going to help us out, tell us about what we need to do. So Mu is basically, obviously we all know the myth of the lost continent of Mu, or Lemuria, or Atlantis, or whatever you want to call it. This is really annoying. And we're basically searching for 2 statues that pay homage to the god the god Rama. There we go. So I attack once to activate the golem, and then I can do a jump attack through him. But I have to be a little bit patient with it. So yeah, I'm going to take some intentional damage here because this guy likes to stand in the way, and we can just get through those spikes. So I was mentioning Mr. Freet earlier. He introduced a new bit of movement. It was movement that was discovered before, maybe 7 years ago, way before I started running the game, and it kind of fell into obscurity. But Mr. Freet kind of brought it back and rediscovered it and was like, "Hey man, look at this!" And he's basically been utilizing that to create all kind of new strats. I can use that to dash past the enemy with will. So I was talking about the iframe guarding earlier. If you're free, Dan, you can do that. You can do that with an attack. You can keep dashing and then attack and keep going through. Will can't do that because he's got the jump attack. You may have seen me doing that. When I attack and press forward afterwards, I just do a jump attack, and it means that I can't do the iframe dash attack kind of thing. But you can do that with new freak movement, as we're calling it, to honor the man bringing it back. So now that I've got Psycho Slider, I can do this. Whee! Can deal massive damage. That was not a good idea. Yeah, we can do massive damage, but we can also now go through small little holes that we can kind of now slide through. So we saw this earlier, and it tells you that you can get through narrow passageways. So that's the first place you want to try it, and it just so happens it's the way to go. And then we use the bubble again to get up the big slope there and continue on our way. Now, this is where I actually want to take an intentional death warp again. So now I've got the second Statue of Hope. The next Room of Hope is at the very beginning of the dungeon. So I'm going to death warp here, go back to the beginning, and get quickly back to the next Room of Hope, and then continue. Okay, cool. Cool. So now that we've got that, we've got access to the very, very deepest part of the dungeon. Now, some of you will know what I'm referencing here when I say this, but there's the tile, or the pattern of the tiles on the floor change as you get deeper in. The very deepest floor reminds me of the Super Mario Land 2 6 golden coins, little rabbit turnip things that you get to get the rabbit ears. You'll see what I mean. Those of you who played 6 golden coins would know what I mean when you see it. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I see it. Didn't get it. So there's a thing you can do. If you're pixel and frame perfect, you can actually slide through those holes without watching the animation. It's a weird thing. It doesn't really matter, but it saves a few frames. I wouldn't do it in a run again, because if you fail, you have to then set up again, and that takes time. Okay, here's a big glitch, though. It's not as helpful as you think, but I now have iframes forever. Yay! Well, not forever. But if I do a jump attack or any attack that has iframes into a key item chest like that, I basically have guaranteed iframes until the next time they would be reset. So now that I've gone through a screen transition, I don't have any more iframes. They're gone already. But there are times when... Brilliant. There are times when it helps. So it's actually semi-helpful on this screen. But yeah, the iframes are nice. But if I was to do like another jump attack or brilliant. If I was to do another jump attack or something, I'd just get rid of them. But so now I can get past all the enemies without dying, and I'll show off the iframes to you because it's fun to show off things like that. There we go. Watch this. Yay. No damage. Okay, so I'm going to do my safety save now because the boss is coming up. This is the hardest boss in the game, really. I always like to think that I'm good at them, but they are really hard. So I'm going to make a safety save just in case. So I saved there. The reason I'm saving this is because I really only have one shot at them. So I have 2 herbs, and I will be using both of those herbs, most likely. I've done herbless fights, I've done the fight using only 1 herb, all that kind of stuff, but it's just too risky to not in a marathon setting, because if I do die, I have no herbs. And then I have to do it herbless, which slows the fight down something chronic. So I want to make sure I have my herbs. So speak to the main statue, and then speak to the spirits of Rama's followers, and then we'll be given our 3rd mystic statue, and that, out of 6, you have guessed it, we're halfway through the game. Whew. Okay, so, vampires. I'm going to go into focus mode, because I probably will, oh well, I don't think I'm going to die, but I can. So I'll do a slide to get up into the fight. Now, I'm on a timer, so I know how good the fight is based on the timer, but that was a really good fight. That was a really good fight. My PB is a 109, and that was a 105. To get that in a marathon, all right. Ooh, okay, sure. Crikey, O'Reilly. Oh. I didn't even need to heal actually, but I did just to make sure. Like, I'm not going to risk it. I actually kept the 7 HP or the 7 blobs I had afterwards, but okay. So yeah, I get again all the stats that I got from or I missed from the dungeon has been granted to me now that I've defeated the boss, and we can definitely not die because I mean at this point every enemy would one-shot us if we didn't get the stats. So cheers guys, thanks. My friend's there, just heading out. Okay, so that was the halfway point of the game. So what's happening is we're now after we've defeated movies, there's a long tunnel where we're trying to cross to another continent. It's a long tunnel. On the way through, we get attacked. Well, we got attacked what we think is Riverson, the big, huge, ginormous, gigantic, massive fish that destroyed the Incan gold ship. And Seth obviously, well, I didn't mention it, but it happened. Seth got knocked overboard. Seth became Riverson, or his body was absorbed into Riverson's, or Leviathan, as I said. And he's telling us he's giving us a little bit more information about the story. So I haven't really talked about the narrative of why we're looking for mystic statues in the first place, but evolution of the world is being affected by the light of a comet. So if you saw the title screen, there was a little comet thing. It wasn't... there's a comet in the sky, that's the red star that we're seeing. And the comet is basically shifting the evolution of man, and it's also affecting evolved humans like Will, who obviously his dark psychic powers are being amplified by the comet. So we're collecting the mystic statues, and you might notice, pay attention if you want to the colour of the mystic statues, because it's very important in a small way, and will to the end game kind of narrative as we go. It'll kind of like make sense as we go. But we're collecting mystic statues, and we're kind of like being a little bit more in tune with the dark powers within us as we go. So Kara, who is an insufferable human being, she ran off she threw a Hall of Fame hissy again, and is now like ran into the depths of this cavern. I don't know how she made it, but she did. Okay, sorry, just focusing. Okay, so I took a hit from that skeleton there just because I wanted to, first of all. I don't want to defeat both of those enemies, because then I have to watch the HP up, which I don't need. And hopefully the skeleton doesn't go down. He didn't. Good. Cool, good dungeon, not bad. Yeah, so this is an interesting dungeon with an interesting break. So this is trying to like get us like thinking and really like taking in the environment and the sounds that are around us. So I knew that secret door was there because the sound of the waterfall was loudest. So we're now going to play a spot the difference game. So the top right hand side vase is now blue. Good answer. Anyone? We got okay. It's got to be the vases, bro. It's got to be the vases. You found an herb. So there's no different actual thing looking, but inside the chest is a different item. So want to make sure to choose the chest. And the last one, very, very subtle, is Will's hair is moving because there's wind. So you select Will. It's nice of the game to kind of throw that like different element to you at this point in the game, because it's been very kind of combat centric, and that's fine. But now we have that kind of like spot the difference mini game. Nice cheeky little puzzle, and off we go. We get the magic dust, so 2 to the right. Use the magic powder to free Kara from the painting. So basically Ishtar, the painter, painted Kara a picture. She was like, please paint me a picture. And she painted he painted her into a portrait, literally. And then the magic dust he left behind after he solved his riddle to save her from the painting. Not before, of course, painting himself into a picture. So he's gone by Ishtar. So, at this point, in a PB attempt, if everything's gone fine, we've played amazingly, we got the one cycle cast off, the vampires didn't kick us 6 ways till Sunday, you know, we're on form, we're seeing a green split, we're hyped. This next dungeon is where it can all, where this is the, of all the dungeons that will choose whether you PB or not, this is the dungeon. There are many other moments afterwards, but this is the dungeon. So we go to Water Maya, or Water Mia, however you want to say it. The young fisherman Luke puts us up for a night. And at this point, we're going to have a little walk around. Lance is missing for now. Everyone else is there, but Lance is missing. Let's go find Lance, I reckon. So at the beginning of the game, it was told that Lance and Will, both of their parents went on an expedition to the Tower of Babel. And Will's father and Lance's never came back. Only Will came back from the expedition to the Tower of Babel. That's why he's in tune with the dark powers. But Lance has found his father. So his father was that guy in the chair that we spoke to. Also, it's Lily's birthday, so we should sing happy birthday to Lily. Happy birthday, blue-haired girl. Here's some cake we found on the shelf. I don't know how long it's been there. Do not try the frosting. Okay, so Lance is now going to pronounce his love. I love you, Lily. I want to be with you forever. You don't have to answer right away. I just wanted to tell you how I feel. And then she sods off because, you know, that's a really mature thing to do. Bye. Lily, wait. So she disappears, and Lance needs to kind of like find a way to, you know, show Lily that he genuinely does love her. So we're going to grab Lance's letter. What you need to do, in order to continue the story, you need to go into your menu there, and you need to read that letter. By reading the letter, it unlocks the Great Wall of China. So now we're going to go to the Great Wall of China. So yeah, some people may get stuck there, being like, how do I continue? Open your menu, read the letter. So we're going to do a cool little strat here. These archers have very, very large hitboxes. And I'm going to abuse that by doing perpendicular attacks next to them to get past them, and I can run through their iframes so I don't take damage. These guys deal a tremendous amount of damage, so it's very important that I get this movement right. To stand next to them and afterwards get through in time. Whew. There we go. Nice. First one all right. How did that go? You can get past the second spear. The good thing about being a JRPG protagonist is big falls. You can walk that off. You can run that off. Easy. So this is the Terracotta Army as well. Quite cool. The game makes a lot of kind of like mythological references, so it's kind of nice that it does stuff like that, really. So yeah, you can see I was talking about using the knockback from another enemy to keep enemies at bay. There's one example of that. Come on. Yeah, got it. Cool. Mash! Okay, so here's a big sequence break. I'm going to hold down the B button. Now, normally what you're meant to do is you're meant to kind of like continue on. That was pixel perfect, by the way. You're meant to continue all the way past that. And I'm gonna heal as well, just to be safe here. Marathon. Yeah, you're meant to go all the way to the right, and then you're meant to get a skill, and then come back after you gain that skill to get Freedan. Then go back to continue the story. But I'm gonna just skip that completely. Got it. That's a new strat I developed like a week ago, or well, 2 weeks ago. Where you can basically you can just get past the snake by using the iframe attack to continue, and then like face down with a perfect attack downwards to continue his iframes. So glad I got that. Okay, so here's where I need Freedan. So Freedan has access to this guy by using the Dark Friar. We can attack this guy. Whoops. And yeah. So that's the only reason we need Freedan. So imagine having to go over here, to come down here, to get this skill, to go back to Freedan, to use Freedan, but then the funny thing is, caveat. A caveat to the statues that give you skills. You can transform into the character by getting the skill, when they have the skill active to get. However, afterwards, the statue becomes inert, so you can't transform back into Will. So if you were playing the game normally, come here, get skill, go get Freedan, kill the guy, go back, rather than just going there, and continue. It's a massive skip. It's probably about a 1.5, 2 minute skip. Yeah, it's just really, it's like one of the biggest actual sequence breaks in this game. Even though it's not really a massive sequence break anyway. You're not skipping any narrative or any story. As I said, that element of the game is solid. Okay, so. Good stuff. Okay. Okay, so we're coming up to the boss now. This is Sand Fanger, or Troll Fanger. In chat, please guess if I'm going to get 0 or 5 eggs, or you guys here, hold up a hand if I'm going to get 0 or 5 eggs. Sand Fanger can do 3 attacks. He can bounce, he can jump, and he can lay eggs. Okay, there's no audio for his noises. Okay. I can't hear the left side, and that's where he's jumping. So okay. So as you can see, I can only get 2 hits. If he, there we go, 1. If he like bounces or jumps, I can only get 2 hits. If he lays eggs, I can get 8. So. I can't hear that. That's really weird. Yeah. Why of all things does that noise have to be not in the left ear? Okay, fair enough. It's whatever. I'll make do. But yeah, you can basically see because I can get either 2 hits or 8. I'm trying to guess when he's coming because of it, yeah. Okay. We got 3.5 eggs. That's average, but I missed a load of hits because of reasons. So if you look at the stats of the statues, you may notice a slight difference in the one on the right. So that's 3 eggs. Basically, my PP is 5 eggs. So anything less than that is time loss. So currently, my goal in a run is to be as far ahead as possible coming up to that point in the game, so I have a buffer so I can lose time to Sandfanger, because yeah, if I get 0 eggs I lose. It's basically, rather than looking at it like 5 eggs is the best and how much time loss do I get, if the fight takes 2 minutes for example with no eggs, every egg saves 15 seconds. As an aside, this is what I feel runners, when talking about RNG, if you're speedrunning and talking about RNG, talk about it from the positive. Like, what's the base? And then how can RNG make it better? Rather than, this is what I want, and RNG making it worse. Trust me, you'll have a much more positive outlook on RNG and your speedruns as a whole. But yeah, the important thing with Sandfanger regardless, even if you don't get many eggs, is to execute. I could have hit some more. Sadly, I wasn't able to react in time to the bouncing because the audio, there's like a sound that I assume you guys heard it. I couldn't. The left was a little bit hazy, where he kind of like makes a noise where I know he's coming, so I can catch him. It's whatever, really. I didn't die, so. Okay. Now that we've defeated the 4th boss in the game, this is now the longest time I'm going to go between getting upgrades. So, I'm going to go 3 dungeons with no upgrades. So the 3rd dungeon is going to hit like a truck. Okay. One of the few tiles you can actually run on. Normally you just stop, but... Okay, so this is where the game gets dark again. This guy here is a gentleman who has a terminal condition, and he's playing Russian glass, or basically Russian roulette. He's playing Russian glass to earn money, to basically give to his expecting wife after he passes away. So he's been basically gambling with his life in order to give his family a future. But because we're psychic, if you check the right-hand goblet, it says this one seems a bit iffy. Are you sure you want to have it? So we actually know which one is the poison chalice. But the guy is so ashamed that he lost, or he wants to win so badly that he actually sacrificed himself and drinks it anyway. But for some reason, his idea is to give their prized crux, which are just massive kangaroos basically, to us for beating him. So the game gets a little dark sometimes, what can I say? So we're now going to leave Watermire and we're going to go to some of the cooler dungeons in the game. To be fair, they're all great dungeons, but like this is where it gets a little bit trickier. This is Euro. The city of Euro. Pay attention, the city of Euro. City of Euro. We crossed the desert and finally arrived in the village of Euro. Euro was a bustling city. Make up your mind, Illusion of Gaia. By the way, just in case there are some retro heads here, this game was called Illusion of Time over here. So if you've played Illusion of Time, this is the same game. It was just called Illusion of Gaia in America. The Japanese name is Gaia Gensouki, which pretty much just means Chronicles of the Illusion of Gaia or Chronicles of Gaia. Both names work, however, because we've talked about the comet skewing the evolution of the world, and it does affect the evolution of the actual physical look of Gaia. Like Gaia itself, Earth has changed, but also the time period is not the actual one we're living in, and that will be kind of discussed in the next dungeon. Not this one I'm going to do now, but the next dungeon. Aha, almost. So there's two old dudes having an argument. And he's going to tell us about Mount Cress, where we can find a teapot. I'm British, what can I say? I love teapots. Let's go. So the teapot on Mount Cress is basically going to... It dispels illusions, basically. It's a magic teapot. So we're going to go to Mount Cress, or Mount Temple, or Mountain Temple. It's got 3 different names again, which is a fantastic dungeon. It's a bit of a maze. But for movement, it feels so good. If you're on point with your double taps, it's just an amazing dungeon. Oh, well. And there's loads of like mini cycles in the game, in the dungeon, like loads of enemies that if you're not on point, you don't get past. And there are some where, like, obviously if you are on point, you get past them. So I can normally tell how well I'm executing in this dungeon just based on cycles. 1, 2, 3. And perhaps the best usage of the iframes is going to be here. Okay, so hey guys, it's the mushroom drops. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be the mushroom drops? Okay, so I now have iframes. Yay. So I can run through these guys. Too quick. I was too quick. Whoops, so I lost about 4 seconds there from that. Basically, if you don't stop the run before you start hammering L and R to charge up spin dash, you just guard. So I was basically like a frame or 2 frames too early. Okay. Again, iframes in this dungeon are very helpful. They help us get past these screens pretty easily. I am wanting to take a bit of damage, so I'm going to try and select the enemies. Okay, good. If more than 2 sprites are on screen with their fires going around them, the game lags. So, yeah, I didn't get any lag there, so that's nice. Again, I can't control that. Just either the sprites will be there or they won't. Take a hit there. Nice and easy. Ideally, the sprite up here is going to be in a good position for me to take a hit. Good. Okay. Cool. Now there's a bunch of runners. This game's got an interesting history. So for the longest time, the current world record holder, Le Hulk, fantastic French runner who does a lot of SNES runs in general. He has had like the world record since I've run this game, 6 years. He's improved it over the course of it, obviously, but he was the only one to have a sub 2 for about 5 years, and then I was the second one to get a sub 2. And then now we have like I think 4 or 5 sub 2s. Our current runner who's really doing great right now, he's the 4th place runner with a 1:58.53. His name's Zatox. He basically like contributed a strat to this game where it's like I noticed that if you go like super fast in certain screens, it actually mitigates a bit of lag that way. So he like gave a few bits and pieces to this dungeon, which is kind of nice for mitigating lag. It's a weird one, but yeah. Whew. And at last, the teapot. Hell yeah, dude. I love tea. Big Assam and Ceylon guy myself. Any fans of Ceylon here? It's a very less drank tea in general, but... 1, 2. Ideally, I want to have like 4 HP left, not 10, so I can, you know, die quicker. But there we go. Mount Temple done. Love that dungeon. Really good. Now, in my PB, I have 1 error. My PB is amazing, really, but like I have 1 error. I'm the 3rd place runner, by the way, with a 1:58.39, and the record's 1:58.10, so 29 seconds in it. I made 1 error, and that 1 error cost me 35 seconds. So, and it's in the next dungeon, so I will try and focus on that particular part so I don't make the error again. It's one of those ones that because I made that error on like the run of my life, I'm kind of scared of the trick, so I'll try and get it right. By using the teardrop, or the teapot rather, it reveals that Neil's parents, this is where Neil's parents live by the way, Neil's parents were actually dead, and Neil was kind of like hiding that, and he's coming to terms with the fact that they are you know, dead. And Will says to him, "I'm ashamed to hear you talk that way." Good friend there, Will. Don't know why he's so mean, but yeah, that's a bit of funny translation more than anything else. He means I've never heard you talk this way, but I'm surprised to hear you talk this way. But funny translations are funny translations. What can I say? Okay, so Hamlet's back. So in Watermire, there was like basically Rolex or Rolec. Rolec have a delivery service that works in Watermire, and they found inexplicably they found the pig. Hamlet is once again joining us on our adventures. Yay! I love pigs, they're really cute. Nothing bad is going to happen to the adorable pig, don't worry. Okay? Nothing bad's going to happen to the adorable pig. Why would it? We've had a guy gambling with his life for money. We've had, we've defeated a slave trade. Why would there be something bad happening to a cute little pig like that? Rest assured, everything's fine. Although if any of my lot are here, prepare. Do what you need to do. And you know what to do. So we go to this random village. It's a village. And as you can see, it's hit by this heat wave. That's why there's the animation happening. And there are dead bodies strewn about, or skeletons strewn about the area. The heat wave is so much that these people have turned to cannibalism because they can't survive. There's no food in the area. So these tribesmen have turned to cannibalism. So they capture you, and they're ready to cook you up a good one for their meal. Wait, Hamlet. Why the sad look, Hamlet? It's as if we'll soon be separated, Hamlet. Hamlet? Oh my god, Hamlet, no! Wow. And we have rotary. So, yeah, Hamlet sacrificed himself to become food for the tribe. And out of it pops Will's mother. the spirit of Will's mum. So obviously Will's parents have been gone for the longest time. At the beginning of the game, when we're in prison, the spirit of Will's dad spoke to him via the flute. And now Hamlet has the spirit of Will's mum. So, Japanese RPGs, what can I say? Now it's time to go to Angkor Wat, or Angkor Wat, or another name that I call it. Just add a letter. This is the dungeon that ruined my dreams. It's very difficult as well. It's very difficult, but I do love it. Good turn. Really good turn. Got it, yes. Okay, I was working on a very specific strat there, and it required a micro pixel adjustment there, but I got it, so good. That's the fastest way you can do that screen. I think it's very hard to get right, but don't ask what they are. I don't know. Too close. Okay, cool. So the enemies in here, we're a dungeon down now, but the enemies in here still deal a lot of damage. Again, remember this is double tap to run, so all of these changes of direction is a double tap on the D-pad. So your hand gets very, very tired. If only the X button, by the way, on the controller, the X button on the SNES controller is completely unused in this game. They could have just made the X button a double tap, a run button. Although I will say on a personal level, I do feel as if the double tap actually makes this run as good as it is. So the sequel to this game only came out in Japan and Europe. It was called Terranigma, a brilliant game. That has a run button. But I feel the movement isn't as satisfying, even though like the style of running kind of like works in a similar way. The running in this game, like movement in this game, is so much more satisfying because of the double tap to run, and I do like the fact that it's double tap. No one would agree with me on that one, but okay. So this is the trick. Got it. Got it. Okay, so what I'm doing there is a trick we call the Quaker Skip. The Quaker Skip is basically in this dungeon there's a skill called Quaker, and there was an enemy that I was attacking off screen, an enemy that if I was to move up the little corridor that he was in, he would have like moved into position and become invulnerable. You're meant to go and get the Quaker skill, come over, jump off that little like slope you saw, and then use the Quaker to paralyze him, and then run past him. However, because of like very, very precise pixels and positioning, I can face up and then like throw out a Dark Friar, and then chase the Dark Friar up enough to get the Dark Friar and the enemy's feet on screen, and hit him left into the wall, so that I can hit him 3 times and defeat him without having to, worry. Got it. In my PB, I was 1 pixel. Actually, I forgot to do this. Hit me, please. I was 1 pixel too far to the left, and I knocked him up rather than to the left, and he was out of range for me to hit, and that cost me 35 seconds. So it's an unfortunate one. And yes, I'm on 1 HP. That is to the enemy and to the HP, like precision damage. I forgot to get hit by the gold head, which is kind of annoying, but again, this is just so I can quick warp out of the dungeon. Now this cutscene, it looks a bit weird. You're probably going, why does it look so rubbish, so crappy? The reason this cutscene is a bit balked is because I did the hold down start on the main map. On the main map, obviously, as I said, the camera likes to scroll out and then scroll in. If you let that happen, that cutscene actually shows in a better angle, and it's actually a longer cutscene. But we don't want to see a longer cutscene, so we skip it. But that cutscene basically shows the world as it's meant to be. I was talking about the illusion of time, about how the world is not some ancient, it's not some kind of ancient mythological world. It's actually modern day. There are cars, there are, planes and stuff, but that's what it should be. And we had a glimpse of that world that we should be in, but we're not in currently because of the illusion of time and or the illusion of Gaia. And now we just leave the dungeon, so... One, two. Oh please, oh please! Whew. I haven't died here for a while, but the fly was being mean, dude. Ho 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 ho. Ho 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 game. Silly. We made it. We didn't die. Yay. So the way that the checkpoints in that dungeon are done are kind of like by going out into them. So I would have gone back up to the top if I had died going out. So annoying. Okay, so now we have the Gorgon flower. The reason we went there, we were shown a map by the guy there. The women had been turned to stone in the village. So we used the Gorgon flower, put a leaf into their mouths to bring them back to life, and they can hunt again, and they can look after the men. And the natives will be fine. We saved the women. Now, the final dungeon, proper dungeon of the game, is the pyramid. We're going to be going to the pyramid shortly. First of all, we need to find out where it is. There's very little to be done here, really. We're going to go in here and that's it. Hello, Neil. Neil joined us. If you speak to the guy just by the edge there, he'll give you a book, and the book is basically giving you the answer to the big puzzle in the pyramid. The pyramid, similar to Sky Garden, is broken up into 6 locations. Well, not 4, but 6, but it's broken up like that. And in every single area is a key item that you want to use them to kind of like put together. You put them together in a particular order, and then the path to the boss opens. The funny thing is, though, is the doors left to right, 1 to 6. The item you find in there is the order it's in. So the far left door is the far left item, and so on and so forth. Kind of silly. But in this final dungeon, we are also introduced to our final character, Shadow. And one thing I haven't talked about, I really should have earlier, because it's actually kind of important, is boss damage. So you're probably wondering why I'm fighting certain bosses with certain characters. 3 of them I fight with Will. Will only deals 1 damage. Freedan deals 2 damage per hit to the bosses. The reason we don't really go out of our way is because it's normally like you lose time to it. You can still do it fast enough with just Will. That is not looking good. Okay. Okay. Now I have a very special item here called the Aura. And the Aura... I am going to die. The Aura is... basically it allows you to sink through the floor. And what I'm going to do, there's a glitch called an attack aura cancel. By attacking, and then cancelling out the attack animation with the aura. I thought I was on the next floor. Whoops. By cancelling out the attack with an aura usage, you sink into the floor, but you maintain your attack frames. So, to be honest, I should have died. I just like forced myself to die earlier, just because I took too many hits at the beginning. Sadly, I'm actually I'm going to do a safety strat on the beginning screen, just because this screen's a touch wider than I'm used to. So my horizontal movement has been a little bit off over the course of the run. So I'm just going to take this slow, sadly. What I was trying to do is like run in between two of these bad boys. But that's a safety strat instead. It's slower. I don't like doing it, but I've already died once, so whatever now. I'm going to take a guess of a 203 with that in mind. Okay, so yeah, attack, cancel, and I'm going to basically hopefully be attacking this guy. Good. Amazing. It's a completely different attempt. Okay, rather than doing what I did last time, I want to stop here. Kinda. I took a hit. I don't want to. I don't like taking hits there, but whatever. I've still got 2 hits in me, so. This is the hardest dungeon in the game, by the way, I think. Like, actual dungeon. The boss is whatever. The dungeon is so hard. Because for 3 of the 6 rooms, we need Shadow. And so if you die and you become Will, you have to, like, go and get Shadow again. And that's why it takes a while. But yeah. So yeah, boss damage. I should talk about that now. Boss damage, the damage I do to bosses, isn't based on my strength. It's based on the form I am. So Will always deals 1, Freedan always deals 2, and Shadow always deals 3. But I'm weak enough that I deal 3 anyway, so right. Cool. Good. That's the hardest part of the dungeon. Just because you want to get inside those enemies and then attack in a sequence, not rapid, but enough to, because whenever you hit them, you'll see they kind of like glisten, and when they glisten, they're basically charging a laser beam. So I need to hit them in a way to kind of like all 5 around me, the ones that are around me, I want to hit in a pattern to cancel their preparation and reset their preparation. Very hard. But yeah. The amount of runs that have died for all runners who have ever run this game to that 3rd room is... Room 3 is legendary. And the Killer 6, as we call them, that bottom 6 group of orbs at the bottom are notorious. So, okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to heal. I got the first bit perfect, but I got a bit unlucky on the second one. I shouldn't have taken that extra hit, but... This is why we get that 1 herb in Ishtar's gallery. Okay. I've taken too much damage again. I'll heal. Or should I risk it? Risk it? Heal? I don't know. Cool. So we've got a key, and we've got a leg. So everyone who runs this game remembers the hieroglyph stones in different ways. I remember the order that I need to put them in as bird, leg, key, sit, owl, stone. People use very different versions, but that's mine. I'm going to heal. There's nothing wrong with safety in a marathon setting. because the reason I'm doing this is like if I could control this section, if I could control this section, like if I could control whether I get hit or not, I wouldn't mind. But there are 2 sinks that we're going to do. So in room 3, remember I did the attack aura cancel and went through the floor? There was an enemy that like walks around. If he doesn't walk to basically if he doesn't like walk into the attack aura cancel, I can't basically get iframes off of him, and he will hit me. So if I had 0, if I had like, I had 1, basically I was going to die in 1 more hit. Well, we'll see. We're okay. If that didn't happen, I would have been dead. Straight up. Is that right? That could be it. There's a pixel perfect trick here, where if I'm on the right pixel, I'll go through the door without the splash animation happening. Hell yeah, dude. All of the pixel perfect stuff I've done. Which one? Yeah. Could be, yeah, probably. Apologies, just a word from the organisers. Okay, so I didn't take any damage in the end. Yeah, fine. So I shouldn't have healed, basically. But essentially, if those 2, if the bird soldiers don't cooperate, then I cry. So it's just not worth the risk ever, really. I did. That said, I did a run at RPG Limit Break, and I did do it. I got away with it as well. But I wouldn't recommend it. Don't do a me. It was a race, so it's like either I do it and I win, or I don't and I lose. So I went for it, and it was a very, very close race. So shout outs to another great runner in Gilles, who is the 2nd place runner. Okay, so I've done the 3 for Shadow, and now I've got 3 with Will. Now, there are like loads of secrets and stuff to find, like hidden around. Ideally, you're meant to use free down as well to explore the full depth of the dungeon, but for the things we need, which are just the hieroglyph stones, we only need Shadow and Will. So we actually don't see free down again after we see him in Angkor Wat for the Quaker skip. But yeah, getting positioning in this game is really, really hard. And you'll notice that when I should have talked about this earlier, I guess, but like, it's one of those things that maybe doesn't really matter just for watching purposes, but for intricacy and the nuance in the run, it's a really important thing. Is the run is very geometric. So obviously it's top down, as you can see, but I'm running in diagonals. So I'm running in diagonals in order to obviously cut out as many tiles from my movement as possible. And it's a very, very hard part of the run to get like tiny bits of movement into a really clean and strong diagonal. So getting that is kind of where you elevate your game from being a solid runner and very good at executing to getting that like deeper element of the movement. And the movement is the biggest thing that you unlock in this game that really kind of like breaks down the barriers between certain like speeds of run that you can do. At 205 to 203 to 2 flat to sub 2, it's all in the movement. Okay, so 5 out of 6 complete. This is the last one. Okay, there's a very tight bit of movement here that I'm going to try and go for. If I can get it. No. Okay, so if I was sharp enough on my diagonals, I can basically go along that top bit without slowing down like I did. I would have just like zoomed across at full speed. It saves again like 0.1 of a second, 0.2 of a second. Not major, but I mean this run is very optimized in terms of like the levels that we're playing at. Like, so it does make a difference, obviously. Okay. I told you this game was dark, right? Well, so this is the Jackal. At the beginning of the game, about 10 minutes in, this chap was left a little note on our house. You may remember this. And he was like, I'm coming for you. You haven't seen him at all. If you speak to NPCs, he shows up in dialogue, but so it gets a little bit so you can come in here and play this song earlier and it actually shows you what happens, but I'll let you guys experience this for yourselves. Kara. It's the clawing. It's like the trying to get to her and the hand and the... Jeez. That is brutal. You can actually move yourself further to the right during that cutscene, just slightly. I'm going to focus for a menu here because it's quite a hard one, but... Birdleg Key, sit out stone. Okay, so this next boss fight is a run killer, I guess. As in if you die to it. So don't die to this next fight. In the Japanese version of this game, Freedan is the best way to fight this one because you can actually use Quaker to paralyze her and she stays paralyzed. She doesn't stay paralyzed in the English version. So we're going to use Shadow for hitting for 3 damage every time. Here we go. Okay, so basically what happens is you can paralyze her and then she doesn't go into this form in the Japanese version. So we have to just go through this whole section in full speed, well, in full slowness at least. And I want to keep her as high as possible while still being able to hit her, because the lower she gets, the harder it is to avoid her ghosts. And she is a 2-shot kill. She will kill me in 2 hits, so I need to be careful. Now that she's down to half HP, she's going into her second phase. Now 2 moves she does, either moving or firing a bolt, she will create a ring. Or she does this. This is not good. This is very hard. Okay, great. Good. Whew. Okay. Got scary for a second there. Anyone noticing the Mystic Statue differences yet? I'll mention it now, because we haven't unlocked the secret just yet, but the right side are the same colour, but slightly darker. Ooh. What can it possibly mean? Well, we're going to find out very shortly, because we're going into the final dungeon, which is not an actual dungeon, it's actually a boss rush. So we're going to fight all the bosses again, We're going to fight them with Shadow, so it'll be very, very quick and easy. But if we made it this far in a speedrun, this is the final hurdle. Because enemies, again, I was talking about the randomness of certain bosses and how certain bosses can be a bit more less than cooperative. They have one more chance to be less than cooperative. So, the Tower of Babel. So, we have 5 mystic statues, and we're told to go to the Tower of Babel where the last mystic statue is waiting. I don't know why I watch myself mash sometimes, just to make sure I'm doing it right. It's a really, really weird thing. So like, left thumb on the Y button and then index and middle finger on the A and B. So like a mixture of charge the parachutes. Now pay attention, because we're going to be jumping over the Tower of Babel. And we haven't been there for a year. Wait a minute, who's that? There's a second parachute. Who could it possibly be? Okay, final dungeon then. As I say, it's a boss rush. And our HP's looking very nice. So we gained a lot of stats. So we gained all of the stats from like the last 3 dungeons. And that's why the pyramid's so hard. Because we have to go through Mount Temple, Angkor Wat, and the pyramid with no upgrades. And there's a lot of upgrades in Angkor Wat. So there's the crystal ring. That was the crystal ring that we were asked for at the very beginning of the game by the... it was basically lodged in a hidden compartment in the flute that dislodged when touching that electric barrier. Now there was another crystal ring we found on the Incan Gold ship, a light crystal ring and a dark crystal ring. And Will it finally unlocks in him the 2 sides of light and dark, light Gaia, dark Gaia, and what the comet is doing to evolution. And basically who everyone represents. So Will obviously represents the dark, and Kara represents the light. Excuse my plosives. My plosives are strong today. Now, can we get the 1 cycle? Yes, I do more damage. This is not a 18 frame window for 20 hits. Don't worry. One cycle, yeah! Getting the 1 cycle there is not, as I say, it's not hard. So ideally, you don't take damage, but again, if you're going fast and just attacking, you don't care about taking a hit. Again, that was one of those ones. It's dependent on the crystals that he fires out. They have to go in the same direction. If they're going in 2 different directions, then sorry. Okay, Viper is hard to get right, but we'll try it. Okay. I forgot to equip the aura. I was trying to attack aura cancel, because then you get the frames, but I managed to take 2 hits instead. Fantastic. Okay. It's fine though. Depending on how tricky the vampires are. So the vampires actually are harder here than they are with Will, because when you fight them the first time, they don't have a hitbox on their body. They just have when they unleash the shields that go around them, they have a hitbox. But these ones do have a hitbox on their body, so it's much harder to hit them and not take damage yourself. So you have to do iframe, have to do attack aura cancelling to get it. So. Not bad, not bad. They were nice. Okay, now it's Dark Fanger. With Dark Fanger, we want to see him lay eggs in the first 5 cycles. If he lays 1 egg in the first 5 cycles, it's fine. Any more than that, and he's really labouring the fight. Ideally, you want to see 2 eggs immediately, but. Dark Fanger, please, please, Fanger. Wow. Okay. Sure. 0 egg. Okay, sure. Okay. We didn't take any damage. You shouldn't take any damage to Dark Fanger. He doesn't do anything. And for some reason, we beat Viper up so much, he's now going to help us out. Thank you, Viper. And if anyone's wondering why we don't run in Japanese, because a lot of RPGs do get run in Japanese, the text speed, funnily enough, is slower. Yeah, this is the fastest text speed by far. And all the intricacies in the Japanese version don't make up for it, so. Should be quite high up. So yeah, I mean, this fight isn't any faster. So, I mean, sadly, we have to watch this fight again. I mean, if she's kind the first time, it's really annoying because then she has to be kind again. Because if you remember the last fight, if she can either, as I said, she can either spread and do this in her second phase, or she'll do that quick one where she creates a ring, and one of the ghosts reforms her into her main her corporeal form, if you will. So you want the rings to make the fight faster, and if she does the spread move all the time, you're just adding loads of time to the fight. Perfect, good start. There we go. There we go. Nice. Thank you. Ah. Cheers for coming. There we go. Nice fight. So we got 6 rings and then 7 rings. So that's good. Okay. So that's all of the bosses defeated once again. We're now going to be going to the final boss fight. I played it quite safe all across the fight, the game, so I'm going to just go without healing for the final boss. Hello, Kara. Okay, and the last skeleton we find is Ulman, our old man. He didn't make it out of the Tower of Babel, sadly, but he will unleash all the lore, all the information, all the final pieces of the puzzle will now be given to us. So he's talking about how the light of the comet is accelerating evolution. And there are chosen people who are one of 2 tribes, the Light Knights and the Dark Knights. Kara is a Light Knight, Will is a Dark Knight. So because of the comet, that's why he has the ability to pull things in by spinning his flute and can transform into Friedan and to Shadow. These are denizens, these are Knights of the Dark. And his evolution is being sped up by the comet, so the more that he is influenced by the comet, the stronger he becomes because of it. However, the comet is a bad thing. there's no good or evil in the dark or light nights, but they're there to keep balance. And the comet is accelerating darkness, so you need to put a stop to the comet so that the balance can be restored. So that's why we've been collecting the 6 mystic statues, the 3 dark statues, and the 3 light statues, in order to unleash the full power of dark and light. In order to fight the comet, Dark Gaia, because obviously Gaia is the main one that we talk to and save with, but Dark Gaia is the baddie, and Dark Gaia is kind of like a thing on the comet. So we're talking to the spirits of people that we've met and influenced over the course of our journey, and they're going to basically give us their power. And by using the 6 mystic statues, the 3 light, the 3 dark, we basically combine our strength with the light knight. Power of darkness, will and shadow, and the power of light in Phoenix, or the Firebird, as this game calls it, to be able to attack Dark Gaia. So this is a 2-part battle. We're going to fight the face of the comet, and then Dark Gaia will appear, and we will fight Dark Gaia. And time will be on final hit on Dark Gaia. So not the first phase, but the second phase is when time comes up. So we fly to the comet, and final boss time, which can be 3-cycled. I'll hopefully get a 3-cycle. It requires getting 5 hits, and 5 hits, and then 4 hits, which is hard to do. We'll see. But amazing music, let's go. Okay. To end this first phase, I'm going to do an attack or a cancel to get the first available frame. There it is. And now the final fight. Five. Okay, one more like that and we got it. Okay, I've got one chance. It's going to be close. Okay, time's coming up on last hit. If I get the 3-cycle, then good. But I may not. I may not. Come on. Okay. Okay, well, one more hit then. And that'll be coming up very, very shortly, so time's coming up on next hit. Time. Oh, and there we go. That is Illusion of Gaia any percent in how much I don't know. How fast was that? How much? 2:02 apparently. Not bad. For a marathon run, I'll take it. My fastest is in a marathon, I think, is a 2:12. Getting sub 2 in a marathon requires some special stuff and not having a death. But yeah, that's Illusion of Gaia. It's a fantastic SNES RPG. Illusion of Time over here. If it's available at the retro section, you should go and have a look. But no, it's very, very good. I would recommend a casual play if you haven't played it before and you do like your retro games. Cheers to UKSM for having me, and it's good to support a cracking charity like Special Effects. So, hope you guys here enjoyed the run, and you guys obviously on stream enjoyed the run as well. Up next, crikey, if I can remember, I can't off the top of my head the schedule. You've got a great run coming up next, I'm sure. So make sure to keep supporting UK speedrunning. Make sure to follow this channel if you haven't already and do that kind of stuff. Support UKSM. They're a good bunch of guys doing a good bunch of stuff. So that's it from me. So cheers.